Welcome to CXWise, where we share wisdom, insights, stories, and expertise from the world of customer experience. I'm your host, Nate Bennett, and you're about to hear real-world experiences and practical advice that will elevate your CX game, no matter your title and no matter your industry. So without further ado, let's get wise. My guest today is Joy Corso, Chief Administrative Officer at Sprinklr, where she leads both marketing and culture and talent initiatives. Joy is an absolute marketing and CX powerhouse with over 25 years of shaping customer experiences at companies like Vonage, AMD, and Fidelity. From driving global marketing strategies as CMO at Vonage to leading communications at tech giants like AMD, Joy has consistently demonstrated how marketing, talent, and culture come together to create exceptional customer experiences. Joy, welcome to CXWise. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nate, and thank you for that introduction. Spectacular.
Well, we could go on and on, but we don't want to embarrass you, of course.
Please. Go on.
So, in that case, I will go on.
No.
One of the things that we like to do at CXWise is the first question out of the gate is let's define our terms so we're all talking about the same things.
Sure.
The first question is always, how do you define customer experience?
It is such a great question because I think you hear the term customer experience, customer engagement, brand experience, brand engagement, all those types of terms together. And I really do genuinely believe they are indeed one and the same. Sure, you can put some as an umbrella and some as a piece of it and some as a part of it. But if you really think about what that means, it is any touch point, any journey, any experience, even if it's just walking by a trade show booth and you're not physically having an engagement, right? There's still an experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's still an experience when they're just sort of in your aura in some way. And it's also about how they think about you. So it's more than just the how did you pick up the phone, right? How did you respond to my chat? How did you serve me my coffee when you walked in, right? It's well beyond that to any sort of engagement, direct or indirect, my view, that really is that comprehensive engagement.
And that it goes directly into brand, right?
Yep.
Because brand is much more than the colors, the design, the logo. It's really reputation.
Yep.
And can you talk a little bit about the intersection of how customer experience creates brand for customers and potential customers?
Yeah, it's a great question because at first glance, you'd say, well, they're the same thing. Yes, sort of, kind of, but normally in organizations, they sit in two different functions. Right? So you have kind of your customer, your sales function, you kind of have your brand over here in marketing, right? Building your logos, trying to get awareness, get mind share between the two. But if you really think about it, your brand is your experience and your experience is your brand, right? They're interchangeable. So it is, in my view, and it's not, because if it was easy to do, companies would be doing it, right? So the challenge becomes when they're a little bit fragmented, is that you have your brand promise, which we all know takes, what they say, sales overnight, brand over time, right? Which takes years and years and years to build, right? In a moment to destroy it, right? So that takes a whole bunch of time. So we spend as marketers an immense amount of time trying to build a perception of who we are, and a good perception, right? And then when you have the experience, we're like, oh, it's easy to work with us. And we all know, you call someplace and you're on hold for 20 minutes and then you just gave your account information to the recorded thing. Then you get to the agent, they ask you the same question. Everybody's irritated out of the gate, right? So, to marry those up is incredibly important. Not easy to do, right? But those are the two things that I think really well run, strong branded companies, right? Forrester came out with their new brand index, and you see CX and BX, as they call it, right? And they talk about that importance of the two alignment. So I don't think there's anybody that would debate that, but very few actually execute on it.
How do you see Sprinklr executing on that in the coming months and years?
Yeah, great question. So I am a massive brand proponent in general, because I've seen the power of a brand, good and bad.
Right.
And that takes investment and time. But I've run actually customer experience in other companies, and I've seen the power of that. So part of my job here too is to make sure we bridge that gap across the two. It's about being easy, being simple, being refreshing, right? It's all about those notions. So part of our job is to make sure we're doing that across our own brand,
Mm,
right? So that's really what we want to redefine an industry to do. So we want to redefine it here too. So part of my job is to make sure that the promises that we're putting out in the world is what we're helping to deliver,
mm.
right, from a product standpoint, even when they're engaging with Sprinklr
Yeah.
directly, right?
I love that you use the word refreshing. How many times do you have an interaction with a brand and you walk away going, that was refreshing?
Few and far between. And
Right.
think about it, but think about it. When you actually have an experience that was easy,
Yeah.
right? Here's your example. If you go to return a package at Amazon, it's super easy
Yeah.
now. I remember the old days where, oh my God, it was painful and you had to put a code in this and that.
Right.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons, particularly
Hmm.
that I might use them, because it's so easy.
Hmm.
It makes my life, and now I can go to Whole Foods and drop it off.
Right.
It's refreshing,
Right.
right? So what we hope to get to a point where that's no longer the exception,
Right.
right? Where you almost fully expect when you call customer service or have an interaction or make a complaint, that's going to be difficult,
Right.
right? Whether you have it in the front of your brain or
You
not,
sort of gear up for it.
you sort of
Like
give
you're
us like
about to fight.
it's going to be exhausting,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But I really do believe, when you look at the power of what Sprinklr can bring across, it really can make those journeys easy and refreshing
Mm.
and simple. I mean, that's I want people to come with a sense of almost relaxed about it, right?
Man.
I don't want to overstate, but ultimately that's where you want to go.
Right. My God. Yeah. And again, if if it was easy to have your customers relax, everybody would be
Everybody
doing
be doing
it.
it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm curious, you touched on your experience in customer experience. You have vast experience in marketing and a great many other things. I wonder if you could unpack for our audience kind of your career trajectory, where you started, and then how you landed at Sprinklr in a pretty unique role.
Yeah. Most folks, when you come out of school in the decade that I did, many decades ago, it was, hey, what job can I get that'll pay me something, right?
Right.
It's actually as a recruiter. It sounds pretty ridiculous now. Now I'm with HR, but I think in the trajectory of a career, I really sort of pivoted for me when I started to land in these executive communications
Mm.
roles. And I was first a marketer, and then sort of got a job marketing to employees, which included executive comms. And I quickly sort of got a competency and was known for that through, I think I had 4 or 5 really brilliant CEOs that I got to support. And for me, that really set the stage for, I think I bring a really strong business acumen, which I think quite helped that and made it successful, because you got to put your CEO hat on,
Sure.
right? Understand when they tell you to go do something or talk about something or prepare something, you got to look at it across the entire company.
Mm.
So I think the schooling of connecting those dots, right, across a company gives you that strategic mindset of how you can think about it internally and externally. So that sort of then meandered back into marketing, which is fabulous. And then as I took these various marketing roles, I was always a CMO plus.
Mm.
And some of that's by choice, because for me, I get excited by the notion of business impact. Now, marketing can be a tough gig. We all know it's the top C-suite role that turns over,
Right.
right? I think marketers get a bad rap, for the record out there, because there's so much expectation
Right.
on a marketer, right? To build brand instantly, right? To get return your pipeline instantly. Like, it's difficult to do that. But I think when you started to take that, and I say, okay, well, really, it's a big part of strategy. So I
Mm.
ended up taking a strategy group. I ended up taking a product management group. I had product marketing, right? So I think as marketers that we have so many skill sets, and then took customer experience. One, I think for me, it was always about what else can I take to contribute? What
Mm.
else can I help align across the org, right? And bring that continuity. And same here. It's like, oh, well, marketing and HR. Well, you know what? It's really, my view, really not that different. What is it really about? For me, a couple things. Operational rigor. It tends to be a specialty of mine.
Mm.
Every function needs it, but it's also about the experience. One's about a customer experience,
Right.
one's about an employee experience. Are they really that different? Again, I hearken back to when they hired me into my first comms role. What did the EVP of HR at Iron Mountain say to me? She said, I'm not hiring an HR person. I want somebody to market to employees.
Wow.
So it's sort of come full circle, right? Unexpectedly so. But it's very similar, my view, skill sets and notions, right, at the end of the day.
I love that because I think for our audience who doesn't know, you now have a combined role, and there's of marketing influence and culture and talent.
That's right.
And there's a Venn diagram there
Absolutely.
that I think a lot of people perhaps have never thought of before.
It's funny. You find, not funny, haha, funny,
Yeah, yeah,
ironic. You see marketing tucked into all kinds of places.
right.
You see marketing tucked into legal, into sales.
Mhm.
I've seen communications tucked into HR,
Right,
global. So I find it interesting that marketing is so modular sometimes that people feel it can get popped into different roles. But other roles, why can't it be a larger remit,
Mm.
right? As somebody who comes up a marketing track, right? Because I do think there are so many transferable skill sets.
Mm. What excites you about specifically that at Sprinklr they call it the culture and talent aspect of it? And I think I like that term better than HR. What excites you about that aspect and kind of taking that role over and steering Sprinklr in a different direction?
Well, I don't know if I'd say different. I would say, of the values the company has, they're pretty good.
Mm.
They're pretty cool. But I just think we got to push some different levers differently. And I think when you come into a transformation for any company, whether you're transforming your customer experience or you're going through some sort of change or a merger and acquisition, the levers that you pull in the organization will be a little bit different,
Mhm.
right? Some years it's might be this, some years it might be that. For us, we kind of have the four pillars that are going to be important, around accountability, around teamwork and collaboration, around execution,
Mhm.
around trust, right? Because those are the things that are really going to help fuel, I believe, help fuel the transformation that we need. So
Mm.
there's some fabulous things about this culture. It's amazing. But if we do these four things a little bit better, a little bit more consistency, that's going to fuel our transformation for the future.
I love that. And there's no separation of customer experience and employee experience. It's always a common theme on this show.
Yes.
And it's inescapable. But
Yes.
again, you would think it would be such a no-brainer to focus on the employee experience. And so many organizations sort of fail or undercut that huge aspect of
Yeah.
foundational customer experience.
It gets left behind, and I don't think it's executives saying our people aren't important. I don't think that's ever the notion, right? There's a big, as we are as well, by the way. Customer obsession is indeed a massive value of ours,
Right.
right? That's not negotiable. And some people will ask me, what's more important, your customers or your employees? Well, to me, that's a silly choice.
Yeah.
There is no choice. It's
Yeah.
not a choice. And you've heard me say this week: balance.
Mhm.
It's a balance. One fuels the other. We are here in service of our customers and our shareholders. We are a publicly traded company, right? We are a for-profit organization. We have a charter here, right? That's what we're here to do. But our employees are fueling that, right? So it's this circular thing, and there's no one start point,
Yeah.
right? It's not a cart before the horse. It's circular. So I just think the stronger that we are in serving our customers, the stronger that we are for our employee engagement, and that includes learning and development, which sometimes gets pushed aside, right, when a company's going through a transformation.
Right.
Really focusing on the cultural aspects, again, sometimes because you're so focused outwardly, but we don't want to do that. We want to absolutely focus on customers, but I do not believe it is because you're letting go
Right.
of a focus internally. So
Right.
that's part of my job, to make sure I'm that anchor
Mm.
to keep it pulled, because I do have the customer perspective, which is incredibly important. But I also, so this is why, again, why would you put them together? My view, look at it. We got to balance it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm here to help balance.
Well, a moment ago, you talked about trust.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kind of pivot and talk about AI and
Mm.
brand trust.
Yes.
And we've even heard this week from the stage that there's a little seeds of doubt and maybe mistrust in brands that perhaps rely too heavily on
Yeah.
AI for all of their customer interactions. And I think, Gartner released in one of its top 5 predictions for 2025 that consumers will start seeking out more human-centric interactions when they interact with a brand. So, how does Sprinklr address that prediction or that coming trend?
Yeah, that's a great question. So look, when AI first became a thing, now for Sprinkler, it's always been a thing,
Mhm.
right? It was just a quiet
Right.
thing, and some others, and it sort of exploded, right? Everybody became a Smith AI
Mm.
company, right? Everybody just kind of tacked on the AI
Right.
too, that we've always had it. And I don't think that's unfounded, the concern, right? Because that sometimes is an over rotation. And I think sometimes, my opinion, that when people think about AI, the typical consumer, right, that has an interaction, my mind immediately goes to a chatbot,
Mm.
right? And we all know 9 times out of 10, it's an awful
Right.
experience, right? You get the canned response. They don't answer the question. You can't get to somebody human. So for that, it's like, oh my, how impersonal could that have been?
Right.
Right. Even if you call on the phone, there's no intelligence to it. So that may be a starting point for folks about what AI is.
Mhm.
And you just feel like a complete number. Nobody knows you. But when you really think about the power of AI, first of all, it's a human created AI. Right. Now, let's not forget, this isn't just you're opening a box and you let it loose,
Mhm.
right? There is intelligence, there is governance, there is strategy behind these AI solutions that we're certainly building, right? To enhance the customer interaction. I don't think we have ever said this is in lieu of a human, right? Because we absolutely believe in the power of the human
Right.
connection, right? So it's humans that are actually helping define that AI model and that AI structure and those rules of engagement and where you can connect in. There's that human agent that's taking all that AI intelligence and being able to make a reaction to it,
Right.
right? A human connection to it. So it is AI's not to replace,
Right.
right? It is to enhance. And ultimately, my view, if you get it right, folks on the other end aren't feeling that that AI connection is a simple bot, that you're one and the
Right.
same. That's my view.
Are you familiar with Iron Man? Are you a comic book fan?
Yes,
Are
I'm
you?
a Marvel movie fan.
Yes,
Marvel,
of
yes,
course.
yes, yes.
I think about it as kind of like Iron Man.
Okay, tell me.
You have the human inside.
Yes,
He's a very smart guy. His name is Tony Stark.
yes,
Super smart, super rich,
yes.
but he's a guy,
It's a guy.
right? He might know kung fu, but outside of that, there's nothing like necessarily super about him.
Yep.
But then comes an augmentation of technology
Yes.
that AI is embedded in his Iron Man suit. And the two of them together are then more mighty to overcome the obstacles, to slay the dragons. So, like, it seems to me that Sprinklr is positioned as sort of the Iron Man of AI. We're there to augment the experience, not to take it over. That it's not meant to be to replace the humanity. It's there to augment the humanity and make that connection an even stronger one.
It is. And for companies, right? Everybody's looking to be more efficient.
Mhm.
Let's be honest, right? Nobody has unlimited dollars.
Right.
And hopefully when you have something like Sprinkler in an organization, you're freeing up some of your talent to go do other things. You're freeing up intellectual capital to
Mhm.
go do something else, right? As opposed to some of these more repeatable and predictable tasks,
Mhm.
right? To be able to reach more of your customers, to be able to respond to more of your customers in a faster way, right?
Mhm.
Nobody likes to be kept waiting, right? So I think you're absolutely right. I think the AI version of it, I believe it's the enhancement. It's about
Mhm.
efficiency. It's about effectiveness. It's
Mhm.
about reach. But you can never lose. Fundamentally, you can never lose that human connection in that process.
I want to talk a little bit more about your expertise in marketing and advice you might have to brands who are looking to appeal to women consumers more effectively. I
Yeah.
remember the campaign from years and years and years ago, the softer side of Sears.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
God. I
right?
do.
That's
I really
yeah, right?
do.
Like
Yes.
there's a lot of people in the audience may not remember that one, but I do.
Yes.
But it was highly effective.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, from your viewpoint and your experience, what could brands be doing better
Yeah.
to appeal to those buyers who really influence 85% of buying decisions?
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to broaden it from just women because I do think the notion is universal. And
Mhm.
I think about Dove, the Like a Girl
Yeah.
campaign, right? It's so compelling, and I have daughters that they're both teenagers, so that resonates, right? So they did a really good
Right.
job about piquing my attention,
Right.
right, and my daughter's attention. But then I think about somebody like a Nike, and if you go look at their mission or vision statement, they don't talk about sneakers,
Mhm.
right? They talk about sort of getting the best or inspiring
Right.
the best out of athletes, right? And that's a brilliant way to connect. So for them, something like that, it's connecting to the athlete in the person, where Dove's connecting to, the female
Right.
aspect. Or by the way, it could be to dads of girls,
Right.
right? We just had our women's ERG panel, employee resource group. About 30 or 35% of the folks in the audience were men, right? So I think when you think about things like that, yes, it's appealing to a buying center. So I think you got to find for any buying center, what's that compelling moment for them? And the challenge of brand is there's such an emotional part. I think I said it yesterday when I showed a video. How did that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
How'd that make you feel? What do they say? People will remember you personally of how you made them feel, not
yeah.
what you said.
Right.
And brilliant brands do that well. Again, if it was easy, we wouldn't have a whole heck
Right.
of a lot of billions of dollars on branding agencies,
Right.
right? And these things. So that's really, I think, the key to any audience. Some people's on branding, it's about to solve a specific problem, and nothing wrong with that,
Right.
right? It could be, a medical condition. I'm going to solve this. Others, if you're building your brand, it is about how you made that person feel,
Right.
because that's now their perception. So I think whether it's a female population or an athlete population or a CIO, pick it, male population, it's about how you found that nugget to connect with them.
I this episode is going to be entitled "How to Find Your Nugget."
Make it a golden nugget
Yeah,
at least.
how you find your golden nugget. I'm always searching for what the title of the episode is going to be, and I think we just found it. Cut and print. You've been at the helm of a lot of organizations that are experiencing change.
Yeah,
And that's a really, really tricky thing to manage from a leadership perspective.
it is.
I'm wondering, how do you do it? What's going through your head when you realize, like, there's been a lot of change here. These are human beings we're dealing with.
That's right.
And how do you navigate your teams and your people through that from a place of empathy, employee experience? You have done it very, very well. And I'm wondering what your advice might be to other leaders who might experience the same thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because no two companies are alike. I've
Sure.
been in orgs of the exact same size, the exact same revenue, and they're fundamentally different cultures, right? But I do think there's certain frameworks that I have found helpful with some tweaks. I really do believe when you go through a transformation like this, the two biggest levers are clarity of strategy and path forward. And again, it sounds simple, but it's not always done well.
Yeah.
Right? Of very crisply what the company is here to do, what the business priorities are, and then ensuring that as we do it through a strategy cascade here, we will at least, and that every person understands where they fit into that and their priorities. So again, it sounds simple, but when you're in a company that is really led by phenomenal innovation, sometimes that operational rigor behind it
Sure.
doesn't quite scale as much.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bring that clarity, people say, I got it. And then it's interesting. Two questions I always ask in a transformation of a company, and we tend to do it monthly, is do you understand the strategy? Our job's to make sure people get it. Right? But two, do you believe in it? Now, by the way, they're not always the same answer. Right? And that's okay. That's okay. Our job as leaders is to make sure they understand it, and then hopefully clarify any points that will help them believe in it. The second piece of it, and this has been shown in studies, is that cultural alignment, right? The expectations of how we all behave with each other. Again, when you have companies that have grown so quickly, particularly in a global footprint, right? Sometimes you'll find pockets or I've been companies with lots of acquisitions, right? And the acquisition cultures are very different from the main culture. And that causes fragmentation because your belief system and your expectations are a little bit different. Right. So again, that's harder, right? That's harder. But when you start to pull those together, and I know it's cliche and I've said this, they're rowing in the same direction, but it really is genuinely true.
Yeah.
When you have that and you build that culture through a couple things, one is operational rigor, making sure everybody's aligned, and two, setting the expectation about how we behave. And it gets you to a place faster because now you've just built some trust, because I'm going to tell you what I think. Right. You're going to tell me respectfully, please. But you know that we're all trying to come from a good place.
Right.
I want people to have an environment where they can raise their hand and say, I disagree. Now, I may ultimately agree with you. I may not. But I want you to be able to at least tell me. I can't fix it if I don't know. So I think all the leadership, as we look at things, you've got to be able to see the landscape. right? You got to be able to see where the challenges are because you can't fix them. Again, you might not agree,
Right.
but I want people to at least feel that, hey, I had the opportunity to share my view.
I want to end on a question
Yeah.
about brand storytelling
Sure.
and narrative in marketing and messaging. There are some marketers who don't necessarily see the value in that sort of narrative structure.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering kind of which one, like where you fall in terms of the importance of brand storytelling, how it's executed. Is it important? Because you strike me as somebody who is a great storyteller, but from a strategic standpoint, a narrative for results.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm going to give you a little bit of it depends. And here's why. Because you have sort of your different levels of brand storytelling.
Sure.
So you have your top level, and that is where it's compelling, right? That's where you have a little bit more time to tell your story. In a display ad, you're not telling a story. You're making a point.
Right.
But what we talked about earlier, a story makes you what?
Feel something.
Feel something, right? So that will be, I think, a lever we look to, and you may not get it right? This is where you place your bets. For companies to see their market, for companies to see their customers, for people to engage with their customers in a way, and our job is going to be to tell that compelling story. So yes, from that perspective, 1,000%, we got a fabulous story to tell.
I agree. And I think one of the purposes that story and narrative can do is when you have something that is so complex and can be so confusing,
Yes.
story helps to clarify, because if you confuse,
Absolutely.
you lose.
And there could be a nugget within that story.
If
Somebody
there's
can
only a
connect
golden
to.
nugget, oh my God, we've come back to the nuggets. And I don't know about you, but it's lunchtime and we're talking about nuggets. I'm getting a little hungry.
It is time. It's fabulous, Nate. Thank you so
Joy,
much for
thank you
having me.
so much for spending your time. You've made us all a little CX wiser. I really appreciate your time.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks.